Hi, everyone. I'm Laura Ingraham. This is the Ingraham Angle from Washington tonight. Thanks so much for being with us. Lock 'em up. That's the focus of tonight's angle. All right, rule of thumb, liberals don't care about crime unless it's committed by people they don't like or people they disagree with politically. Remember, they threw the book at the J6 defendants. Many were given years in jail.
The judge also gave him quite a significant sentence, believing it too amounted to a crime of domestic terrorism, seditious conspiracy, and the judge gave him 12 years.
Federal prosecutors are recommending the toughest January 6th sentence yet for two leaders of the Proud Boys, 33 years in prison.
Now, some of the 2020 BLM rioters did some time, but nothing like we're seeing here, because one protest was considered legitimate and moral, one illegitimate and immoral. Now, the left accuses Republicans of profiling criminals. But the truth is, Democrats are themselves master profilers. Now, who can forget back in 2006 when a black woman accused 3 white Duke lacrosse players of rape? They were prosecuted, their lives destroyed, but ultimately, they were all cleared of all charges. Their teammate, their only black teammate, nailed what motivated the charges in the first place, basically telling Good Morning America that it was because of race. Similar biases were on display more than 13 years later when the press was willing to come down on that Covington Catholic student, Nick Sandmann, whose moral crime was wearing that MAGA hat and looking forward when he was in town for the March for Life.
This face-to-face confrontation igniting charges of racism.
A mob of MAGA hat-wearing high school students surrounding a Native American.
We're kind of smirking at him and kind of looking down their noses at him.
Why do we always do this in these sorts of cases when white boys are involved? We give privilege to these white kids.
Of course, if he were wearing a Planned Parenthood hat and glaring at some poor old pro-lifer, none of those people in the media would have accused him of menacing looks or trying to intimidate an elderly activist. Of course not, because it's all political. Now imagine if the video you're about to see involved 2 white teens laughing as they mowed down a black former police officer who was out riding his bike. Caution, this video is very disturbing to watch.
Ready? Yeah.
Now, this happened more than a month ago. Who thinks that it would have taken this long to release the video if the races of the alleged perpetrators and the victims were reversed? Now, we all know the answer to that. And look, we still don't have the manifesto of that trans killer in Nashville. We've been waiting for that. How convenient. Crime is crime. Crime should be treated as crime regardless of the race of the criminals or their victims. But that's just not how the left sees it, and that's not how they ever want to see it. And this is part of the reason why things are spinning out of control. We all see it. We all know what's happening. With retail theft, where billions of dollars are lost annually to scenes like this. And vicious, cruel moments like this when 2 teens just decide to lash out for the hell of it.
All right, go. Go. Keep it moving.
After years of demonizing police as vicious racists, the left feels no responsibility whatsoever when police officers are either gunned down or run over, as you saw earlier in that Las Vegas clip. They're just simply wearing uniforms or their past association as a police officer. This happened last week in LA.
He was just driving down the street. And for no apparent reason, and we're still looking into the specific reasons, somebody decided to shoot and murder him, I'm assuming at this point, because he was in uniform. That to me is sickening.
Yeah, sickening, all right. And sickening also described what we saw last week in New York, where it's not just police who were being targeted, but the vulnerable elderly. An 80-year-old man named Marcelino Valerio and his wife were getting out of the car near their home in the Bronx when he was shot in the head and killed. Looks like the murdering thug was just out trying to have some fun. The suspect, who was dressed entirely in black, including a black ski mask, rode up next to Valerio on the sidewalk, shot him twice, one of the shots striking him point blank in the head. We've seen what more permissive approaches to crime did in the 1960s, when social upheaval plus the spread of recreational drug use gave way to urban riots and rising crime. The violent crime rate in the 60s increased 126% between 1960 and 1970. That's according to the pretty liberal Brennan Center for Justice. But the fact is, tough on crime policies worked when we had them, and they were attacked, however, as racist and unjust. And then they were ultimately ditched in cities like New York. Crime went up. Now, leftists may have been pleasing in their conduct, they were thrilling the faculty at Yale and Columbia Law School when they pushed cities to pursue so-called bail reform or ending stop and frisk. But it's nothing but doing the opposite of what most people want. They're putting criminals back onto the streets. And the anti-law and order crowd is so fanatical, they're moving full steam ahead. In fact, today, Illinois became the first state in the nation to eliminate cash bail completely. And this is Chicago is still in the grips of violent crime. But radical politicians like the Speaker of the House there, Emanuel Chris Welch, celebrate.
We've heard a lot of falsehoods about this historic law. We heard a whole lot of racist dog whistles too. And we're still hearing them. But let's be clear. The Pre-Trial Fairness Act makes Illinois a national leader in criminal justice reform, and we are making our communities safer.
I'm going to go off script for a moment. Who thinks that's going to make Illinois safer? We'll check back in a year. Meanwhile, this is what is considered good news in Chicago over the weekend. 24 people were shot, but no reported homicides. That was only the second weekend that happened all year. But the fact is, crime is going to continue to rise, and innocent people will continue to be victims of it until voters in urban America say enough is enough, and until those suburban voters also decide that there's only one party out there that's putting racial politics ahead of safety, and that's the Democrat Party. It's time to take a chance elsewhere. So I predict next year, more women and more minorities will choose safety and sanity over dangerous virtue signaling. Gosh, let's hope so. And that's The Angle.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.